Have you ever felt that something inside you doesn't fit in this world, as if your soul knew a truth that your mind cannot yet name? It isn't madness. It isn't anxiety. It isn't an existential crisis. It is a sign. And what is happening right now on the spiritual plane explains exactly why you feel this, and why this sensation has intensified lately. There is a game being played in layers that most of humanity cannot see, a game that involves your identity, your spiritual lineage, and the invisible seal that was engraved upon you even before you were born. Think, what if everything you have always felt, this sense of being a stranger, this search, this silent certainty that there is something greater, was exactly the proof that you carry a code of honor that God Himself used to shield your identity on this earth? Because that is exactly what I am going to reveal to you now. There is a code, a sacred pattern, a spiritual signature that the Father imprinted only on those He called the chosen before the foundation of the world. And this code is not a metaphor, it is not religious poetry. It is a real vibrational spiritual shield that operates behind the scenes of your life, even when you do not realize it. This is why you survived what should have destroyed you. This is why there are people who hate you without even truly knowing you. This is why strange attacks reach you out of nowhere. This is why you feel this weight when you enter certain environments, this discomfort when certain people approach, this sensation of being watched by something you cannot see. It isn't paranoia, it is discernment. It is your code of honor reacting. It is your sealed identity responding to everything that tries to violate the mark God placed upon you. And today, I am going to show you how this code was activated, how it works, and why hell has worked so hard to make you forget who you truly are. Because there is a very sophisticated strategy happening against the chosen, a strategy that acts not by force, but by confusion, by erasure, by the forgetting of your own identity. And that is exactly what you need to understand right now. That is why I've prepared a powerful digital book for you, the Manual for God's Chosen to Protect the Family. This digital book is not just a reading, it is a map of the code of honor that God sealed in you and in your lineage. A map that shows who is trying to erase your spiritual identity, what the rules are that they never told you about regarding how this divine shielding works, and what servants of the Lord have already revealed about how to recognize, activate, and strengthen the seal that was engraved in you since before your mother's womb. This digital book was created for those who have already awakened enough to realize that the war against your identity is not a fantasy. It is real, it is daily, and it acts to make you doubt who you are in Christ. The link is pinned at the top of the comments, but I must warn you, this type of content rarely stays available for long. What is in these pages challenges narratives that many have an interest in keeping intact, narratives that teach the chosen one to see themselves as a victim, as small, as insufficient, and there have been attempts to silence this knowledge before. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is now, chosen ones, because you did not come across this video by accident. Download it now and comment below. I am chosen and I will download the digital book. This comment is your first act of faith, recognizing the code that God sealed in you. Now that you have made this declaration, the next truth I will tell you will be the final blow against the strategy of erasure that has been operating against your identity, because you need to understand where this code of honor comes from. It is not a modern invention. It is not a generic spiritual concept. This code originates in the very backstage of creation. When God set apart the chosen before the foundation of the world, He did not mark them with a garment, with an external symbol, or with a visible sign on the skin. He did something much deeper. He imprinted on the very spiritual essence of each chosen one a unique pattern, a set of invisible principles, a signature that functions as both a key and a shield at the same time. This is the code of honor, and it is composed of spiritual laws that govern the life of the chosen one, even when they are not conscious of them. The first law of this code is the law of recognition. You were made to recognize the truth when it is spoken, even if it comes from someone the world despises, to recognize a lie when it is told, even when it comes from someone everyone respects, to recognize spiritual danger in environments where others only see parties and fun, to recognize kindred souls in the middle of a crowd, to recognize attacks disguised as coincidence. This gift of recognition is the first layer of your code, and that is why since you were a child, you felt things others didn't feel, noticed things others didn't notice, and knew things without having a way to know them. They tried to convince you that this was imagination, exaggerated sensitivity, or an emotional problem. A lie. It was the code of honor operating in you even before you had words to understand it. The second law of the code is the law of weight. The chosen one carries weight. It is not depression, it is not common tiredness. It is a spiritual weight that comes from the fact that your soul perceives reality in deeper layers than the common soul perceives. You feel the suffering of others as if it were your own. You feel the sin of a city like New York or London when you enter it. You feel when someone beside you is living a lie. This weight is part of your code because the chosen one was made to intercede, to carry, to cry out. And hell uses this weight against you by convincing you that it is a defect, a disease, a weakness. But it is the opposite. It is the clearest sign that you are a bearer of something sacred. The third law of the code is the law of resistance. Everything that tries to knock you down finds within you a strength that even you do not understand where it comes from. How many times should you have fallen and didn't? How many times should you have died spiritually and something held you back? How many times were you attacked and somehow managed to get up again? This resistance is not yours. It is the code of honor shielding your identity against every attempt at erasure. And that is exactly why hell works on a front that very few perceive, the front of forgetting. It is not the front of direct destruction, it is the front of forgetting. Making you forget who you are, making you forget the code you carry, making you see yourself as anyone else, as just another one in the crowd, as an ordinary person struggling to survive. This is the true attack against the chosen today, and you are feeling it in your skin. And it is exactly about this strategy of forgetting that the digital book manual for God's chosen to protect the family was written to teach you how to combat. Because forgetting doesn't just hit you, it hits your home, your children, your entire lineage. The enemy knows that if he can make you forget the code, he can prevent that code from being transmitted to your own, and then he breaks generations. This digital book reveals exactly how the code of honor is transmitted within the family, how it manifests in your children, and how you protect your home from the spiritual erasure that has been acting silently in Christian homes today. It shows exactly where forgetting enters your family, what the breaches are that seem harmless but function as doors to cancel your sealed identity, and what the daily acts are that reactivate the code in your loved ones and your descendants. The link is pinned at the top of the comments. This digital book was not made for the curious. It was not made for those who just want information. It was made for the chosen one who understood that their family is the first territory of the war, and that without protecting this territory, everything else crumbles. What is in these pages goes against much of what is taught out there, because what is taught out there keeps the chosen comfortable and asleep, and those behind the scenes want exactly that. There have already been attempts to block this content. There have already been attempts to silence those who speak these truths. Therefore, chosen ones, I tell you, the right moment is now. Download the digital book by clicking the link pinned at the top of the comments and comment, "I am chosen and I will download the digital book." This comment is a declaration on the spiritual plane. It is you positioning yourself against forgetting. It is your code responding. Now that you have positioned yourself, pay attention, because what I am going to reveal now is one of the deepest parts of all this. The code of honor that God engraved in you operates through a specific frequency, a frequency that the kingdom of darkness cannot imitate, a frequency that is recognized by the angels of the Lord as an identification password. When you pray, it is not just your words that ascend, it is the frequency of your code that is recognized at the throne. And that is why there are prayers that are answered with a speed that seems supernatural, and there are prayers that seem to fall into a void. The difference is not in the words, it is in the activation of the code. When you pray from a place of forgetting, when you pray feeling like anyone else, feeling unworthy, feeling separated from your sealed identity, the code remains dormant. The prayer ascends, but it ascends without a signature. But when you pray from a place of recognition, when you pray knowing who you are with the awareness of the code engraved in you, your prayer ascends, stamped, marked, identified, and the portals open in a different way. That is why there are people who pray their whole lives and seem stagnant, and there are others who pray little, but with so much weight that everything moves around them. It is not spiritual injustice. It is the code operating or being dormant. And here is something that will shock you. The kingdom of darkness studies you. It does not act randomly. It observes where your code is weakened. It observes in which areas of your life you have forgotten who you are. And it is exactly in those areas that it attacks. Therefore, if you are a chosen one in your professional calling but feel lost in love, it is in love that the attack comes with more force. If you are firm in faith but fragile in your self-esteem, it is in self-esteem that it enters. If you are strong in intercession but weak in controlling your temper, it is in your temper that it destroys you. It operates in the blind spot of your code. And this explains why so many chosen ones live a brilliant spirituality on the outside and a devastated personal life on the inside. It isn't hypocrisy. It is a lack of total activation of the code of honor in all areas of your life. And here is another fundamental revelation. The code of honor carries memory. Memory of your lineage. Memory of the covenants your ancestors made with God, and also memory of the breaches that were left open. You inherited a seal, but you also inherited battles. Some wars that are in your life today did not start with you. They started 3, 4, 5 generations ago, in places like the countryside of Georgia or the streets of Manchester. And that is why praying like just anyone never resolves it. You need to pray as an heir, with awareness of the code, closing doors that others opened, sealing wounds that others left bleeding in your family tree. This is the work of a truly awakened chosen one. This is the level at which you were called to operate. But the opposing spiritual system works night and day, so that you never reach this level. It keeps you busy with superficial struggles, so that you never see the roots. It keeps you tired with problems of appearance, so that you never look at what is underneath. It fills you with shallow information, so that you never find true depth. And that was why, chosen ones, this digital book needs to be in your hands today. Because the manual for God's chosen to protect the family is not just another spiritual book. It is the specific map of the code of honor applied to the protection of your lineage. It teaches you how to identify where your code is dormant, what the specific prayers are that reactivate each law of this code, how to recognize attacks of forgetting acting in your home, how to shield the spiritual identity of your children so they don't grow up without knowing who they are in Christ, and how to definitively close doors that have been open for generations in your family. This digital book is what many pastors do not have the courage to teach openly, because it delivers tools that make the chosen one independent of any human structure and directly connected with the authority that God has already given them. The link is pinned at the top of the comments. I must alert you again. This content challenges what is taught in comfortable pulpits. This content exposes what many prefer to keep hidden. And there have already been attempts to take this material down from the internet. There have already been attempts to block it. There have been absurd reports trying to erase this message. Therefore, chosen one, I ask you firmly, do not leave it for later. Download the digital book now and comment, I am chosen and I will download the digital book. This comment of yours is a milestone. It is the moment when you say no to forgetting and yes to the code that God engraved in you. Now that you have sealed this commitment, listen carefully, because what comes next is the heart of everything. There is a massive difference between knowing you are chosen and operating as chosen. Knowing is theory, operating is practice, and the code of honor only works in full mode when it is operated. And to operate, you need to understand 3 pillars that sustain the entire shielding of your identity. The first pillar is the word, not just any word, but the anointed word, chosen, engraved in your heart. The chosen one was made to speak with weight. When you open your mouth, you either release life or you release death. There is no neutral point, and that is why the enemy works so hard to make you speak ill of yourself, to make you prophesy failure, to make you repeat phrases of defeat. Every word that comes out of your mouth passes through the code. If you speak in alignment, the code is strengthened. If you speak out of alignment, you yourself weaken your shield. That is why many chosen ones live in battles that they themselves opened with their tongue. The second pillar is silent obedience. There are orders from heaven that reach you not in words, but in sensations. That impulse to pray for someone, that discomfort of not entering a certain place in a neighborhood like Brooklyn or downtown Chicago, that sudden urge to call a person, that unease about making a specific gesture of faith. These are orders from the code, and the obedient chosen one follows even without understanding. The proud chosen one asks for an explanation before obeying, and in that delay loses the window of the miracle. Silent obedience is what keeps the code alive in your daily life. The third pillar is the guarding of intimacy. Everything God shows you in intimacy is a seed, and a seed cannot be thrown into just any soil. How many times have you shared dreams, visions, and purposes with people who did not have the capacity to carry that, and in a short time it died? It didn't die by chance, it died because you violated the guarding of intimacy. The code demands that you protect what you receive, that you silence what is still in formation, and that you seal what is sacred. And here enters a point that very few Christians understand. Spiritual envy is real. There are people who, even without knowing it, function as instruments to cancel your blessing when you reveal things before the time. Not because they are evil, but because they themselves are under the influence of something that reacts to your anointing. That is why the chosen one learns to be quiet, learns to guard, learns to wait. These three pillars, word, silent obedience, and guarding of intimacy, keep the code of honor active. When one of them falls, your shield weakens in that area. When the three operate together, your identity becomes completely sealed. And here is the most impressive part of all. When your code is fully active, your simple presence changes environments. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to say anything. You enter a place and the atmosphere changes. People react. Some feel uncomfortable without knowing why. Others feel attracted, stopped, fascinated. This is not energy. This is not personal magnetism. It is the spiritual recognition of the mark you carry. The angels identify you. The demons identify you. The people who carry the same seal identify you. And here is a painful truth. Many chosen ones live surrounded by people who recognize the mark on them and use that proximity not to bless, but to try to drain them. That is why there are friendships that exhaust you. That is why there are environments that empty you. That is why there are relationships that seem to suck everything you have. It isn't a whim. It is your code being tested, attacked, challenged. And the awakened chosen one learns to pull away, not out of pride, but out of discernment. Learns to set boundaries not out of selfishness, but for protection. Learns to say no not out of hardness, but out of faithfulness to the calling that is above any human demand. This is the level of spiritual maturity that the code was made to lead you to. But to get there, you need something more than will. You need a map. You need specific instruction. You need precise tools that few places teach in a direct and complete way. And it was exactly to put this map in your hands that the digital book manual for God's Chosen to Protect the Family was written. It takes you step by step through the inner workings of the code of honor, teaching you how to activate each of the three pillars, word, silent obedience, and guarding of intimacy, in your routine, in your home, in your marriage, with your children, and in your work. This digital book reveals how to recognize who around you is draining your code and how to position yourself with spiritual firmness without guilt. It teaches specific prayers to seal the identity of your children before forgetting enters their lives. It shows how to shield your home against attacks that disguise themselves as coincidence, and it delivers powerful declarations that reactivate the code when you feel it is weakening. This is not content for just anyone. It is content for the chosen one who decided to leave the position of victim and enter the position of bearer. The link is pinned at the top of the comments. This digital book is one of the messages that the opposing spiritual system has tried most to silence. There have already been attempts at removal, defamation, and cancellation, and yet it continues to reach those who need it. You are here now because your code responded. Do not ignore this call. Do not let this moment pass. Download the digital book now and comment below. I am chosen, and I will download the digital book. This act of yours is a spiritual response that resonates far beyond this video. Now we have reached the final point of this revelation, and I need you to be totally attentive, because what I am going to share now will change the way you see your life from here on out. The code of honor that God engraved in you has a purpose that goes far beyond your personal protection. It has a collective purpose. You are a piece on a larger board. The chosen ones were not sealed randomly. They were positioned strategically in different areas, in different families, in different contexts, in different regions, so that at the right time they would function as points of light in an invisible mesh that sustains humanity against the growing darkness. You are one of those points. Your prayer illuminates an entire region that you cannot even imagine. Your faithfulness sustains people you don't even know. Your resistance keeps open a spiritual door that serves for much more than just your family. That is why the attack against you is so heavy. That is why the forgetting against you is so strategic. Because when a chosen one falls, an entire region feels it. When a chosen one awakens, an entire network lights up. And we are living in a time when the network needs to be lit. The world is going through a spiritual transition that few are willing to look at head-on. It isn't just an economic crisis. It isn't just a political crisis. It isn't just social chaos. It is an identity crisis at the spiritual level. And the chosen ones were prepared since forever for this exact moment. You are not here by chance. You are not living this phase of your life by bad luck. All of this is being orchestrated to awaken you to the final level of the code you carry. And the final level is the level of spiritual fatherhood or spiritual motherhood. It is when you stop operating only for yourself and start operating as a covering for others. You become a reference. You become a lighthouse. You become the person who holds other souls who are just beginning to awaken now. This is the ultimate destiny of every awakened chosen one. And to reach this level, you need to strengthen every pillar, close every breach, and activate every law of the code. There is no more time to live halfway. There is no more space for a lukewarm faith. There is no more spiritual permission to forget who you are. Heaven is calling you to a level that might scare you, but it is exactly for this level that you were generated, and that is why, chosen one, I have placed in your hands today the opportunity that can be the turning point of your journey. The digital book manual for God's chosen to protect the family is the tool that will systematize everything you heard today into practical actions, spiritual routines, daily declarations, and specific strategies that you can start applying today, at home, with your family. It delivers to you the complete map of the code of honor adapted to your reality, teaches how to shield every member of your house, how to recognize camouflaged attacks, how to keep your identity firm in times of extreme confusion, and how to create a spiritual culture in your home that will serve as a foundation for generations yet unborn. This digital book is what is missing between you hearing these truths and you living these truths in a structured way, every day, with depth and purpose. The link is pinned in the first comment at the top of the comments. I reinforce one last time, this content is a target. This material is challenged. This knowledge bothers many more people than you imagine because it takes the chosen one out of the position of dependency and places them in the position of authority. There have already been attempts to take this off the air. There have already been attempts to censor it. You are here now watching this video because heaven allowed it, because your code responded, because this word crossed all barriers to reach you. Do not despise this. Do not treat this as just another video. Treat this as the clear sign you have been asking God for in silence over the last few months. Download the digital book manual for God's chosen to protect the family now, and when you do the download, comment below with the declaration of faith. I am chosen and I will download the digital book. This comment is the final seal of this moment. It is your conscious response to the code that God engraved in you even before the foundation of the world. You did not reach the end of this video by chance. You reached it because there is something in you that recognizes the truth and responds to it. Honor that recognition. Honor that code. Honor who you are. And remember, chosen one, the time of forgetting is over. The time of awakening is now. And you were shielded to win.